girls?
Yes, good weekend.
Dee, what have you got on your head? Is something growing?
I'd woke up like this, actually.
I'm really not surprised.
I'm really, really pleased, though. Even my dog sort of looked at me very strangely, but yes, my hair, it sort of does funny things.
Listen,
so.
just quickly, talking about that.
Yes.
I weed on Bear last night.
What?
I weed on him.
What?
Yes, well, what happened was that I got out of bed to go to the loo, and I tripped over Bear because he was at the bottom of the bed, and then a little bit of wee came out, so I weed on my dog. Is that very perverted?
He probably thinks you love him even more now.
Yes, or ask Trump.
What's that?
Speechless.
I said ask Trump.
Caddy is speechless, but it's true. I thought I would just tell you. Anyway, our guest today is Jeremy Swift, who I have known for 40 years, when he was in the same show as I was. He is wonderful. He's won, numerous awards. He's been in Downton. He's been in Ted Lasso. He is so talented, and he is absolutely brilliant. And here he is, the wonderful Jeremy Swift. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
You know what, Jeremy? You know what? I've got to say this. All of these awards that you've won, everything that you've done, but nothing was as good as working with me, was it?
Of course not. No. No. Classic experience.
Bloody hell.
So tell us about that, please. I want to hear all about it.
Well, he used to carry me on his shoulders every night, didn't you?
Did I do that? Blimey, I can't remember that bit.
You can't remember carrying me.
No, well, basically, I was like an extra in this play that Debbie played the Marilyn Monroe part from the film The Prince and the Show. No, it wasn't called that, was it?
Yeah, it was. It was called The Sleeping Prince, but the movie was The Prince and the Showgirl.
That's right, yeah. But the play was called The Sleeping Prince, with the late Omar Sharif playing the Laurence Olivier part. And I was basically, I ran on as a waiter with a fez and a false moustache. And I also had to play some kind of wooing music on the violin with with an alcoholic New Zealand accordionist who would often go to the pub, whilst I think he ran on as well at the beginning, and then I'd be waiting in the wings, ready to go and play the violin with him in the background, and sometimes he wasn't there because he'd just gone to the pub over the road. So that's my main memory of it.
But I've still got pictures of you. I've got a picture of us, and I can't find it, but I might find it before the show goes out, of me on your shoulders, because there were like 6 of you that used to lift me up. Do you not remember?
Gosh, no, I don't remember that. It was a long time ago. It was like 41 years ago.
Oh,
yes,
Debbie,
but of course I was only
12
12
to lift you anyway. Come on, 6 people.
But it was always fun. I always remember you because we're from the same part of the world.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm from Stockton-on-Tees, and
I'm from Sunderland.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm so proud of you, Pat.
Oh, thank you very much, love.
Oh, Jeremy, I'm very impressed with everything you've done. And I was a big an avid supporter of the People Show. And
you do? Oh, wow.
Really, really. And I'm sure I must have seen you because I did I went to see most of their performances years ago. And I just thought that was so inventive, and you were so brilliant and creative. I mean, that's what was so interesting. It was really way ahead of its time.
Absolutely. That was a real formative experience for me. And for people who don't know, the People Show are probably the longest running fringe company. They started in about 1966. They mixed up, at first they were very, very dark and experimental, and and then they became sort of quite funny, and they did one of the first sort of alternative cabaret acts, but they mixed up vaudeville, jazz, and surrealism.
Yes, it was amazing, so unique. As I said, so creative. That must have really did that sort of help you to sort of experiment and be, you know, be brave and take risks?
It really did. I mean, I was doing it, I like doing that a little bit anyway, but that just sort of pushed it further because, you know, you could invent stuff on the night, and we created the shows. But, you know, they were crazy shows. There was no director. The visuals were just insane. We had loads of drop boxes, which we had to set up. If you don't know what a drop box, it's like when something falls down from the ceiling. Well, I forgot what it's called at the theatre.
Yeah.
Been such a long time since I've been to the theatre. But you know, things like for even the curtain call in the show we had like a huge drop box that had like 100 women's gloves in it. Like, you know, sort of like first night gloves, you know, and they all floated down on top of us. But, you know, each night we had to put them all back up and get on a ladder and put all that stuff back up again. It was insane. It was really crazy stuff. But, you know, I enjoyed playing music with them as well. And, you know,
is that where this music, this thing that you're doing now, Jeremy, is that where this sort of started?
Well, my mum and dad were music teachers, and I played music when I was a kid, and you know, it was the 70s, so they would be making stuff like, you know, you get a guitar from a kit, and you know, me and my dad used to make up from Practical Wireless. We used to get kits for you know, sound like a ring modulator, which is the sound that, you know, makes, you know, a Dalek's voice. You know, so we'd get all these, you know, transistors and resistors and capacitors or whatever they're called, and put the kits together and do all that kind of thing. Yeah, so and I learned instruments when I was a kid as well. Yeah, but I was in a punk band when I was at drama school, and then during my 20s I had a few bands, but it was very difficult to keep things going because, you know, my agent would say, darling, are you doing this gig in a pub, or are you going to do this tour with the RSC to Japan? You know, which one are you doing? You know, and then I'd just have to go where you know, I'd have to pay the rent basically. So, you know, I'd have to go where the money was.
I'm fascinated by this because my daughter wants to be an active muso, and I'm fascinated by the balance between the two things. So you're saying you do have to choose one or the other, and balancing the both is quite difficult, but then the music's come back.
Yeah, well, that was then, you see, because now I can do stuff, you know, I'd really rather be playing with people, but I can do stuff by myself. And I got into sort of the Atari, which was the first computer to sort of just solely do music, about sort of 30 years ago. And I just got into multi-tracking and doing things myself, really. But then I had kids, so I didn't really have time to do all that kind of thing. But now, you know, fortunately, they, you know, now they're old enough that I don't have to look at them and to make sure that they don't die. I can, you know, I can sort of start creating music again, basically. Yeah.
But what about the violin?
Oh, the violin has gone a little bit. Yeah, I don't play it quite so much. I used to love, you know, particularly with the People Show, I'd stick it through echo boxes and do some screaming electric violin stuff, which was, you know, great fun. But I play a few things, and so I end up sort of like, you know, working on one more than the other, and the double bass is the one I've been playing for about the last 8 years or so. Because a mate of mine was going to America, and he said, "Do you want to buy my double bass off me?" And I went, "Yeah." And then I'd have a couple of glasses of wine and then go and play it and go, "Oh no, it sounds terrible." So I started having lessons on it, and yeah, I really got into not only the instrument, but its role in jazz, you know, and improvised jazz is so underrated, and how it keeps rhythm and melody together. It's a real anchor instrument within jazz, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Once you can play one stringed instrument, you can learn other stringed instruments because it's the same concept in your brain, I think. If you can play the
You know,
violin,
because Katie has 7 children, all of whom are professional musicians.
Classical.
What? Oh my
Most
goodness.
strings and piano. So that's why I was fascinated by the violin, you see.
Oh,
But it's
right, yeah.
classical. My children play classical, but some jazz as well. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, that is true, and there is the same concept with string instruments, but with a semitone, you know, on the violin, your fingers are like crushed together, and a semitone on a double bass, you know, certainly at the bottom end, the scroll end is, you know, it's a couple of centimeters, so you have to adjust that, you know, to that, yeah.
Have you got a music room somewhere where you keep all your instruments?
I have behind me, actually. It's all in the book, but yeah. Yeah, but I've got even at my disposal, I've got various things. Never within, there's always an instrument within arm's reach.
Wonderful.
Oh, can you, Jeremy? So, God, you've done so much work, and actually, The Sleeping Prince was 40 years ago, not 41 years ago. So, just that 1 year makes a huge difference.
Get in line.
It makes a huge difference. But no. So all of this primetime Emmy Award that you've won awards and everything. I mean, how does that make you feel, a little boy from Stockton, pet?
Well, I've been nominated myself, but I haven't won. But the show has, Ted Lasso has won, you know, quite a few awards now. I'm, you know, I still have to pinch myself about that, because I've been in things that I thought were good, but it's really, it's when the public really takes to something that's the key to any success, because you can work all you like on something, but if the public don't like it, then it's not gonna, you know, it's not going to ring out in the way that this show does. And well, I'm a small part of it, really, but I'm you know, so privileged to be in there, and I still can't believe it, particularly going to America and seeing the response there, because it's so much bigger than it is here. I mean, people do like it, and people out here, either they know it and are completely in love with it and obsessed with it, or they just don't know it at all. It's there's nobody who's got a kind of you know, kind of mid-range viewpoint on it. They either really love it or they don't know about it. But in America, it's just phenomenal, and I've never experienced that kind of fandom ever before. So well,
Jeremy, we'll be your fan club over here. You'll have the Wonderbirds fan club, but also you were in Downstone with Leslie Nichol, who's a friend of the show.
Oh yeah, oh, I love Leslie.
Yeah, well, I've known Leslie most of my life, and she's been on the show a few times, as has, and I just can't think of his surname, Bill, white-haired Bill, he's in Ted Lasso as well. Bill, he's from Newcastle.
Yeah, Billy Fellows.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I've known him all my life as well. Yeah, and it was bizarre that on the very first episode of Ted, the first scene we shot was with him, and I was with him, and also the director was from Middlesbrough. So it was like, you know, Borough Boys get together. It was amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Oh, you just had an amazing career. And now you're going back to music, which is it's fantastic. It's a really exciting thing to know that you can be creative and keep being creative in spite of all the jobs and these wonderful things that have happened to you. You've got this creative side of you. Tell us about your new single.
Oh yeah, well, my new single, "Can't Stop Doing It." It stood out from my album, "Songs of Escape and Endless Night," as being the kind of really super catchy one. I thought I have to release it as a single, and it's really, I mean, I don't necessarily write from my own viewpoint. I think it's an acting thing. I sort of you know, just write a dynamic or you know, from a story point of view. But it's really about, it's quite dark actually, even it's very catchy, but it's about compulsive behavior and sort of addiction, and really, you know, and we're all drawn into some kind of compulsive behavior in some ways, and you know, one of them is phones, and media and screens. You know, we all have so much screen time. So, but at the same time, it's quite a poppy, fun single, and I got these guys, the Hadley brothers, who to direct it, and they are very inventive. They come from a bit of an arty background. Their mum is Tessa Hadley, the novelist, and one is a DP and one directs and edits, and they come up with you know, fantastic loopy ideas.
And we're going to show some of it. We're going to show our viewers some of it. We are so proud of you. We really are. So nice with somebody that you've known, you know, since, you know, I think the Prince was that your first job at Chichester?
No, it was about my 4th or 5th job, I think. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but it was the first kind of, you know, prestigious kind of job. I was, you know, a bit awestruck about, you know, there's Alan Bates, you know, there, and all these people who've been on the telly and film stars. It was the first. I don't think it quite has that cachet, I have to say, sadly. But,
and yeah. Debbie Arnold.
And Debbie Arnold, of course. But you know, it was, it was a gobsmacking job. I really loved it.
Oh.
Yeah, there's so many people. It's funny, we used to call it Butlins for actors, didn't we? Really, because that's what it was in those days. Yeah,
and of course it was the first year that now there's the God, my brain. Now there is a kind of a smaller theatre.
Yeah, but the tent.
Yeah, it was the first year of the tent.
Oh,
and,
name.
Yeah, and even Alan Bates did something in there, and Patricia Hodge, who was a very big star at the time, did something in there. And I did a kind of cookie play by David Edgar called Ball Boys in there. Yeah, it was a great time.
Hattie, what were you going to say, Donnie?
I was going to say that people often categorize creative people. You're either one thing or another. So I wondered, what do you prefer? Do you prefer acting or being a musician? And or do you not see it like that?
There's you know, you're part of a team usually as an actor, but you often don't get the ultimate say on things. You know, like unless you're playing a leading part, and I've had a few instances of that, and that's the closest you can get to deciding like what you wear, whether, you know, whether a scene is important or not, you know. And I've had scenes rewritten in the past when I've done that, or I've found, you know, something that suits me more. But generally speaking, it's more a collaborative affair. But certainly when you're writing, then or creating stuff. And incidentally, I have written a play. I've just, which is in the process of, hopefully a lot of producers have seen it and being taken up, but we shall see. But certainly writing music and creating stuff, yeah, then you're very much in the driving seat, of course.
Wow.
Yeah, and particularly, you know, multi-tracking, which is, that's kind of one of my addictions really, is multi-tracking. I love finding something and then just adding to it and building it up. And so my songs are quite immersive on the album, and quite cinematic inevitably, and a bit dramatic as well, I suppose.
What inspires you most in music?
I'm always open to stuff. I love being constantly excited by stuff. I suppose when I was a kid, I've always loved what was deemed art pop, or like Roxy Music and David Bowie, and then the Associates and Björk, and more recently Caroline Polachek. I mean, my favorite moment from Glastonbury this weekend was Fever Ray. I just think they're phenomenal, absolutely sort of brutalist pop, so exciting. But I love bebop jazz. I love musique concrète and classical music, particularly 20th century classical music. Yeah.
Wow, you're so eclectic, Jeremy. Now listen, I need to know personal things. You're married? Come on, children, come on, I need to know all of these things.
Yes, I am married, and Mary, my wife, plays my wife in Ted Lasso, actually, which was a great fun thing.
How did that happen?
Well, because she went up for a couple of parts, one of which was she went on. I think she went for about 3 parts. One of which was old lady. I said, well, that's, I know we're old, but you're not going to get that because you don't look old enough. Anyway, I had also pushed that Higgins would have, I thought should have a sort of toxic wife lurking in the background that would bully him. But they said, and then I didn't realize that there's the first season is very much about divorce, and there are 2 divorces that happen in it. And they said, oh no, we want a harmonious relationship. And so the exec producer came up and said, we've met your wife and we think she's great and we'd like her to play your wife. So
Brilliant.
Are your kids? Come on, kids. Need to know about
yes, I've got 2 kids, one of whom is asleep next door. I've got a daughter and a son, and my daughter was a teen mum. So I have a grandson who's 4, and he's good.
I have a grandson. I've got 3 grandsons, in fact.
Wow.
My God. Yeah, I know it's something. It's bloody football team, but they're quite young. They're 8, 4, and no, they're 9, 5. Hang on, and 0, almost 1. So.
Wow.
Hey, Pat, can you believe this? 40 years later, if somebody would said, here we'd be talking on a phone, we'd go, what?
Yeah, I know. Gosh.
It's mad. Absolutely mad. Jeremy, what can I say? It's been fun. Will you come back and see us again? We're going to play some of your video. We'd love you to come back and see us again whenever you want to talk about anything, because you're just so interesting. Then there's so much more to ask you. I mean, Natalie has been starstruck because I've never known her to be so quiet.
Oh, I'm not. No, my husband's worked with you, I think. Clive Francis. He said you were lovely.
Oh yeah. Yes, that was on.
Did you do the Little Stranger?
No, it was on. I don't think you'd have it now. It was directed by David Evans, and it was about a couple who both were doctors, and they both ended up crossing gender. It
was Mark Warren.
Mark Warren, yeah, and Sarah Parish.
Oh, she's been on our show. She's lovely, isn't she?
Oh, she's great.
Did you change gender, Jeremy?
I didn't, but I think I did dress up. I think in the very first scene, I dressed up as a nurse, quite a buxom nurse, I have to say.
Ooh, interested to see that.
Yeah, I've never seen since it was on, actually, and I don't even, I don't think it's going to appear on any sort of BritBox or anything like that. But yes, that's right. Yeah.
Do you do any gigs, Jeremy? Do you gig anywhere?
No, I haven't yet. I would really like to, just because of work. I haven't really got the time to set up rehearsals with musicians and all that kind of thing. But I would love to do that. If my music is sort of recognized a bit more, then I might start doing that kind of thing. But
well, I've got an idea. You should Google Caddy's Kids.
Yes.
Where can Jeremy find them on Google? And then I think you should all work together. How about that?
Yeah, but it depends how much you want to do classical.
Yeah.
There's a bit of jazz crossover, but
Oh, cool. Yeah. Oh,
brilliant. Good luck with your play, Jeremy.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Sounds amazing.
And good luck with your single. We're gonna. I can't wait to hear it. And good luck with everything. And you'll come back and see us again soon. Promise.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
It's so
so
lovely
much.
to see you.
yeah, and you.
Lovely to meet you.
Yes.
Take
yeah.
care.
Really was.
Yes, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
Wow.
It's lovely.
What a lovely man.
And the more you
Natalie was quiet. You were a
Oh,
little
it's quite-
birdie.
it's just sometimes I listen. I'm very attentive.
You are, Natalie. Don't
She's
I
not.
used to be
She was
very
probably.
quiet.
Do you know? I
And
know what.
also-
I know what happened. I know what happened to Natalie. She was asleep, but she pretends to be awake. You see, I know her
Sleep
very
with her
well.
eyes
So
open.
soon you would have heard a little.
A little purr.
Oh, see, I told you.
Do you know, Natalie, don't worry. Every time, when we started this show, every time I said, let's meditate, everyone would fall asleep because they didn't want to. And I used to be promoting meditation and spiritual stuff and crystals. And every time I started, everyone would, there you see.
Sorry.
So
Are
don't
you finished?
worry.
Are you?
Well, you
And
mean
once
you
you
used to do meditation on this show?
No, I used to talk about just the very words.
Don't let us. Don't please don't
Just the
start her off,
mention of the
Natalie.
words. Meditation
No.
would just send them
Oh
to sleep.
God.
if I did meditate, I would just sleep. It's any excuse. If I sit down, I fall asleep. So
I'm not surprised. You're amazing, Caddy. Honestly, you just absolutely amaze me. I mean, I just think you've achieved, and you're achieving so much. It's really amazing.
No, but I'm going to, there is certain things that I need to talk to you about, but I shall tell you about that soon. But yes, we've got to go because we're in a rush. We are.
As
Yes, we have to
usual.
go out and fly. The Wonderbirds
Fly
need to
away.
fly today because the sun is shining and the Wonderbirds are flying. So goodbye.
Yes.
Fly.
Bye.
Bye.